from the Toronto Star from the year 2008. Five-pin Fanatic begins Bowlathon. Subheading, with game on the decline, Terry Burns begins nationwide trek to mark its centennial. Terry Burns is a five-pin fanatic. He reads books and watches television shows about the sport and talks about it day and night. He even had bowling pins painted on the sides of his car. Now, as the distinctly Canadian sport approaches its 100th birthday, Burns is celebrating his own way, trekking across the country to bowl in 100 alleys in 100 days, starting today. That idea first came to him about 10 years ago as he was driving through Alberta and saw a group of cyclists riding the countryside to raise money for cancer research. Nobody's ever done anything like this before, explained Burns, 46. But it occurred to me that the 100th anniversary was coming up and we should do something like this to support the sport. After talking it over with his wife, Debbie, Burns envisioned the two of them taking the journey together, but only if time would allow it. When she came down with a debilitating liver disease a few years later, he all but forgot about the trip. There was no way I was going to go if my wife was unhealthy, he said. Then, 2 years ago, Debbie died from the complications of a liver transplant and his life was turned upside down. I was lost, Burns said. I just lost my companion of 20 years. At that point, he felt as if he had nothing to keep him going. But then he was looking at his calendar one day and saw the dates he had tentatively penciled in for the tour. I went, hey, I had this thing planned. It won't take me much to do it. I can make this happen. So he talked to his employer and scheduled a 1-year leave from his job as a military supply technician in Yellowknife, NWT, and started mapping out the excursion with the help of the Canadian Five-Pin Bowlers Association. Since then, the group has pledged $2,500 to help cover the estimated $30,000 cost of the trip and have connected him with local volunteers across the country. Burns is a huge supporter of the game, said Len Islifson, who chairs the association's committee charged with planning the 100th anniversary celebration. We thought, there's a guy who's supporting our sport across the country, and if we're the governing body of the sport, we need to support him. Though many of the alleys Burns will bowl in were simply chosen for their location, others were picked for more specific reasons. As a self-described military brat, Burns said a lot of his childhood bowling expeditions occurred in military alleys, so he will hit as many military towns as possible. He also selected a few alleys known for their peculiarities, ones with an odd number of lanes or made of unusual types of wood. For me, it's a great trip across Canada, said Burns. I really want to see my country, but I also want to promote the game in some form. This is a great way to do that. While bowling alleys used to fill cities across the country, rising land costs have caused many proprietors to sell off their properties, and many centers have been torn down. At bowling's peak in popularity in the early 1960s, there were more than 100 alleys in Toronto, including one downtown center that had 80 lanes. There are fewer than 20 alleys in the city today. Bowling is going through many changes right now, explained Walter Heaney, longtime president of the Master Bowlers Association of Canada and an all-around bowling guru. Among those changes is a shifting demographic of fans, Heaney said. While young adults used to flock to the game to fill weekly leagues and tournaments, alleys now are usually filled with either kids or people nearing or past retirement. Marbles isn't a sport because they don't have any stars. It's just a hobby, said Heaney. It's that same lack of stars that has caused five-pin bowling's inability to grow outside Canada, despite the popularity of the 10-pin game elsewhere, Burns said. I've played 10-pin a few times, but I like 5-pin a lot better, he said with a laugh. It's not hard to be a good bowler in 10-pin. You get this big ball, you're going to hit something unless you're really bad and out of control. Burns starts from St. John's, Newfoundland today and ends in Duncan, British Columbia on December 19. He will hit the GTA on October 9, playing in Oshawa, Ajax, and Uxbridge before hitting a pair of alleys in Toronto on October 12, Danforth Bowl, and October 13, O'Connor Bowl.